feeling like I'm in that end zone. I got my homies in a no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.
What is happening, people? And welcome back to In the End Zone UK, your home for all things NFL and much, much more. Today, we have no Big Dave with us, but joining me, as always, is my partner in crime, the ever-loving Green Bay Packers fan, Lil Camo. But I will say the reason why there is no Big Dave on this podcast is because me and Lil Camo are in America right now. We are working, but of course we are making time for football, watching it in some sports bars, and this week we will be attending Thursday night football at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey / New York, and we're here to talk about it all. Lil Camo, welcome back to the pod. How are you doing today?
All gravy, jet lag, tired, boiling hot.
Okay, but the positives are we're surrounded by football in the US. We are in New York / New Jersey. We are going to MetLife tomorrow night to watch the Eagles play the Giants. We will talk all about that a little bit later. And we managed to watch some football, not all of it, but some football in a bunch of sports bars in New York over the weekend. How fun was that?
Yeah, that was an absolute vibe. It's so different, like, to watch it, A, during the day, B, in a bar that is packed. Like, everywhere you look, it's just jerseys, loud freaking Americans. Every TV has a different game on. Such a different experience to watching, say, 6 p.m. Red Zone
on your couch at home at night. Whereas this week we were surrounded by super passionate fans from every corner of America. You might be in New York, but you've got people cheering for the Eagles, for the Broncos, for the Chiefs, for the Niners. You know, everywhere you look, you've got different types of fans, and they really go hard. Every single sports bar that you walk into over here is just jam-packed with people drinking beer, eating chicken wings. It essentially is every football lover's dream out in America, especially if you're from the UK and you don't get to experience this on a daily basis. So we've had a really good time at We Cam. Traveling during the day while some of the games were playing made it difficult. We didn't get to see everything. So this podcast is going to be a recap of week 5. It will be a recap of what we were able to see. And as I said, Big Dave's not on this podcast, and I will give him a shout out because for the first time this year, his Tennessee Titans did win a game, and we'll be talking about that too. But he's not available to be on the podcast this week because he's in bed, because it's late at night here, which means it's the middle of the night / morning in the UK. But we will make sure that we get him back on the pod as soon as we can. So, Camo, before we start, I'm going to give you some names. Jake Tonjes, Harold Fanning, David Njoku, Josh Oliver, Tyler Warren, Theo Johnson, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, Evan Ingram, Sam Laporta, AJ Barner, Travis Kelce. Any way that they ring a bell to you?
Yeah, they're all people that are smaller than me.
They are monsters of men, and they are all tight ends. All tight ends with a touchdown this week. Week 5 was the week of the big fellas. So I am calling this episode Tight Ends with a Z. Tight ends are back. Everywhere you look this weekend, they were making plays, scoring touchdowns, and just flat out dominating. And if you love a big man spiking the ball in the end zone, this was the week for you. Anyway, we will talk about that and more later on, but I wanted to get the name of the podcast out there. Tight ends are back. But we're going to kick off with some breaking news. There is a new quarterback in the AFC North. But in fact, he's been in the AFC North for the majority of his career. Joe Flacco is now completing the Infinity Stones and signing with the Cincinnati Bengals. He is moving from the Browns to the Bengals. He's already played for the Ravens, and he had a short stint with the Steelers, and now he's trying to complete the NFL, I think. This is his 9th team in as many years. And he's at the Bengals. He is a very old man. He's now rocking the tiger stripes. And obviously with Joe Burrow's health being in question with turf toe, the Bengals are trying to find some form of life. And I don't blame them, because that some form of life is not coming from Mr. Jake Browning, who has had some of the stinkiest games of football I've had the pleasure or non-pleasure of watching over the last few weeks. But now Flacco signs with the Bengals. What do you make of Flacco going there? Is that exciting? Does it do anything for football, or is it a non-factor?
As you mentioned, look, it's an upgrade on what they had in Jake Browning. Is it exciting? No. Does it piss me off? Yes, it does, because actually we play the Bengals this week. So it would have been lovely to guarantee ourselves a win. We need a bit of a bounce back game. So that would have been nice. And Flacco's actually already beaten us this season. So
Browns, yeah, about that.
But is it the direction I'd have gone in? No, it's not. Do I understand the move? Yes. Look, we all know the Bengals have 0 pennies to their name. So Flacco's a cheap experience option. It's like they're trying to get someone to get them to the playoffs. So if Burrow comes back at the end of the season, they're still relevant and they're in the mix. But I don't see that's going to be the case.
No.
I mean, Flacco over maybe a Jameis Winston, Kirk Cousins. At least he's been playing ball this season. So he's game fit.
If that's what you'd call Joe Flacco, he's shaken some of his rusty rust off.
Yeah, at least he's been playing.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Am I excited by it? No.
No.
Do I think anybody is? No. The only people for me that maybe benefit from this, I don't want to say the Browns rookie quarterbacks, but at least that's their 1-2 punch now, is rookie a la rookie.
Yeah.
So,
no, I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I don't think Flacco is, as much as he is game ready, so to speak, I don't think he would have been a better option for the Bengals than a Jameis Winston or a Kirk Cousins or even a Russell Wilson. I think any 3 of those would have probably came in and serviced the Bengals a little bit more. I think Russell Wilson's shown a bit of a downward turn, I guess, in the last 2 years, but I still think with the likes of Jamar Chase and Higgins, it kind of plays into his wheelhouse, that deep ball, the deeper option, exploiting and utilizing the receivers that they're paying this hundreds of millions of dollars for. I think Kirk would have been a steady pair of hands, and I equally think that Jameis Winston would have thrown for about 670,000 yards and maybe 265 interceptions, but that would have been hella football to watch Winston at the Bengals. That would have been the entertainment factor for me. I think Joe Flacco hobbling in with his Zimmer frame to try to maybe, possibly, potentially scrape them into a playoff contention and roll out Joe Burrow's turf toe to try and get them another Super Bowl appearance is asking far, far too much of Old Man River.
Yeah, absolutely. And all they could actually end up doing is winning a few games and getting a worse pick at the end of the season.
Exactly. Like, this is maybe the time that you just tank and then try and build around Burrow, but clearly they're not necessarily trying to do that. So yeah, I guess we'll wait and see how things. A bit
of integrity. They've got to try and win, but yeah, actually to their detriment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I also think is that really, like, I guess they had to do something, because if you were playing Jake Brown until the end of the season, then you're almost purposefully tanking. Like him and how he's performed over the last 2 weeks is utterly criminal to the game of football. And I can't imagine any legitimate Bengals fan sat there continuing to watch games if he was continuing to quarterback them. He's been awful.
Yeah, it's a bad look. I don't know if he'll ever throw a football again.
No, I hope not, because he's not been good. So anyway, we shall see how that unfolds in the week ahead. As you said, Joe Flacco is going to Lambeau Field to play the Packers. It's not an easy place to go. And the Bengals are particularly banged up at the moment. We'll move on. That was the breaking news. And as we did last week, we will move into our next segment, which is the game of the week. And this time around, the game of the week pertains to a team that is very close to my heart. The game of the week this week is the Seattle Seahawks against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This week, two teams came to play. It was a physical, explosive, surprisingly high-scoring game. There were players making impacts all over the pitch. Both sides saw every single team member get into the action. It was back and forth, big momentum swings. There was no defense to be heard of, and the offense were firing on all cylinders. And it essentially came down to who could make the final stop or who ultimately couldn't, I guess, in the scheme of things. And that ended up being the Seattle Seahawks unable to make the final stop. They lost in a very high-flying game to the Buccaneers. It was 38 to the Bucs, 35 to my beloved Seattle Seahawks. They won with a game-ending field goal just before the clock ran out. And Camo, we were sat in a bar watching this one. Both quarterbacks had an absolute day. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were on fire. I'll talk about it a little bit more in a moment. Obviously, I'll speak from a Seahawks perspective. But from your perspective, as a neutral watching that game, it did not stop. What did you reckon to the game of the week, Seahawks Bucs?
Oh, absolutely amazing game. Just, let's say we were in the bar, sat at the bar with so much food in front of us.
My fault.
The game just there, and it was like watching a game of Madden. They were just going back and forth, literally ping-ponging. Okay, we'll score a touchdown, you score a touchdown, we'll score a touchdown, you score a touchdown. There was a lot of touchdowns.
There was.
And there was, I just said, both quarterbacks were just operating. But man, that Emeka Egbuka, oh, he is something special.
He is a special boy.
Yeah,
he is a special boy.
For a team that was missing Mike Evans, he just steps in. He looks like he's been in the league for years. He looks so comfortable in that organization, in that offense. They use him really well. They get him involved. His hands are just really secure. You feel confident that he's actually going to make the catch, which maybe you don't always feel with some rookie receivers. Yeah, some special plays.
He reminds me a lot of Puka Nacua, and his name almost sounds the same. Puka Nacua, Emeka Egbuka. I know they're not anywhere near the same letters, but he seems like that kind of player where he can play outside, inside, he can stretch the field, he can take a slant to the house. I mean, he had 163 yards on 7 receptions and a touchdown, which is, and it was a big touchdown. It was one that really, really changed the pace of the game. Nice needle thread from Baker Mayfield, but he looks every bit as good as any wide receiver in the NFL right now. I said to you, when we were sat there, I was like, Emeka Egbuka might already be a top 10 wide receiver, legitimately.
Well, especially this season, how teams and players are playing.
Yeah.
I mean, don't worry, there was also a lot of players missing in this game.
There was injuries on both sides,
which maybe helped it be the game that it was, because like I say, defenses weren't making plays.
No, it certainly didn't help the Seahawks in terms of injuries. It tended to be that the Buccaneers had most of their injuries on offense, losing Bucky Irving, obviously Mike Evans, a couple of their starting offensive linemen. But on the Seahawks side, They were down their number one safety in Julian Love, number one corner in Devin Witherspoon. Tariq Woolen went out early with a concussion. So the Seahawks were really playing with some hard second string to third string defensive backs. No DeMarcus Lawrence up front as well. So it was definitely a banged up team, and you could see that on the score sheet. Obviously, 38 points to 35. The Seahawks have not given up over 20 points this season so far. But I'm not taking it away from it. Baker Mayfield is an absolute magician, wizard.
Yeah.
What a player he is. I find it hard, even though he put a hurting on my team. It's hard to not get behind that guy this year. I mean, I wasn't cheering for him obviously at all, and I wanted to punch his face in. But once the game was over, you go, fair play, dude.
Oh, and we all said his story is great. And for me, right now, he's my MVP of this season. Like, just the way he plays the game, it's so fun. And I would love a quarterback that's that passionate on my team, and the way he plays it, I'd love to be able to get behind that for my team. It's so good. This game really felt like whoever had the ball last would win the game, because points were just going on that fast. And unfortunately for you, the big plays just went against you.
Yeah, we couldn't get a turnover. The Tampa Bay Bucks won the turnover battle in its entirety. They forced a fumble by Jalen Milroe on a stupid trick play. They then had I would call it a lucky interception, but an interception at a key moment against Sam Darnold, where he was trying to throw the ball away and it bounced off a player's helmet and got caught by Levante David. And that essentially iced the game. Aside from that, both quarterbacks had played lights out football. And I guess whilst we're talking about that, can we talk about Sammy D for a minute? Sam Darnold with 4 touchdowns, 341 yards, 28 of 34, passer rating of 135. I mean, that guy was sizzling in that game up until the very, very end. Like this has been a coming out show over the last 2 weeks for Sam Darnold. Not saying that he's MVP, not saying that, we're in that position yet, but I would be fair to say at this point that the trade-off for Geno Smith and stepping in Sam Darnold into this Seahawks team seems to be paying off so far. And he's making Jackson Smith-Njigba, and equally Jackson Smith-Njigba is making himself look like a hella receiver. 132 yards off 8 receptions. It was basically Njigba and Ibuka putting on a clinic from a receiver perspective, and same goes Baker Mayfield and Darnold.
Yeah, no, look, from your perspective, yes, you lost the game, but Sam Darnold is more than a serviceable quarterback for you, and he's finding ways to get different players involved that, you must be happy.
Certainly trending the right way.
Yeah, exactly. It's this year was always going to be a funny one, I think, for the Seahawks, but what you've actually seen, I think you're going to be quite pleased with so far. Yeah.
I'd like to see a couple more wins, obviously, against where we are now. At the moment, we're 3-2. But like you say, the expectations for the Seahawks were really random to start the season. And so far, we've at least been in every game, kept it competitive, and we've seen actual production come from players. And I guess to call out as well the fact that this podcast is this week called Tight Ends Are Back. AJ Barner, tight end for the Seahawks, had another 2 touchdowns in this game. He now has 5 on the year, beating all tight ends in touchdowns. I definitely saw a comparison to him and Brock Bowers. Obviously, Brock Bowers injured, Tyler Warren, but he's making a bit of a name for himself in Seattle. He's coming down with the tuddies, which is what matters.
I'll say that's all you care about. You don't need to be a big name, because if you're going out there and operating, people will get behind you and you'll quickly get recognised.
Exactly. All I can ask for is that players get healthy. I'd like to see the Bucs get healthy as well, because I'd like to see them do something and make a deep run. They're a team that you can get behind, obviously, aside from when they're playing against your team. But yeah, both teams in this game were really operating at a high level. Aside from the defenses, I guess, as we say, there was very little stoppages going on in this game until when it really, really mattered. And the Bucs it felt kind of semi-inevitable. I said to you as the game was going on, I was like, it just feels like the Bucs have got the edge. Just felt like it was a little bit harder for us to keep up, whereas it felt like the Bucs were just slinging for fun.
Yeah, it always felt like you were chasing rather than the pressure was on them. It always felt like you were trying to match what they do.
Sure. Yeah. And it pretty much was all the way till the very end where we took the lead and then lost it. So well done to the Seahawks, but even more well done to the Bucs for a high octane game of the week. So that is our first segment out of the way. We now move to our fan favourite. It's the time for the segment that everybody loves. Camo, warm up your hands for slap or sign. So for anybody who's new to the show, each of us picks 2 players from the AFC, 2 players from the NFC, 1 to slap because they've had a terrible week, 1 to sign because they've done something amazing. And we are going to start, Lil Camo, with the NFC, and I want you to give me your NFC slap.
My NFC slap. This is I don't know how to explain this one. I'm slapping the Cardinals as a whole. I could easily have slapped a particular player, but the way the Cardinals beat themselves in this game
it was horrendous.
Utter farce.
Let me jump in just for the listeners out there. May as well get it in early. I too, this week, because it's almost irrefutable, I'm slapping the Arizona Cardinals. Could have been Amari DiMercado, but actually there was more to it than this. So I'm slapping the Cardinals as a whole, as a franchise. Cam is doing the same. Continue, Cam.
Yeah, so you just mentioned the player that could have easily got the slap from me for doing something that I've already slapped a player for this season, and that is running 70 yards and then deciding when you are a yard or an inch away from the goal line to not hold on to the ball anymore and to fumble it into the end zone.
In celebration, because you think you've already scored.
Yeah, so rather than, at that point, I think they were 21-6 up. So rather than it going to 28-6, the Titans actually ended up getting the ball back.
They did, and they scored 16 unanswered points thereafter.
They did. And the way the Titans managed to take the lead is just, if you were watching a comedy sketch, I think this might be in there.
It's got to be. It's like something off Looney Tunes.
So, what was it? Cam Ward threw a pick. He gets intercepted. The guy then fumbles the ball. It gets batted around, kicked down the field into the end zone, and Tyler Lockett falls on it for a Titans touchdown.
Yeah.
Now, fair play, well done to the Titans. First of all, the Titans got a win.
That's all it is.
There's not a positive to take away from it besides the win, because actually you didn't make the plays to do it, or what felt like the key moments of this game.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals must be sat here thinking, how did we lose this game?
Yeah.
And I mean, did you see the coach absolutely laying into him, the running back? On the sideline.
Verbally and physically, he gave him a little dig, I think, and got fined one of the biggest fines that a head coach has ever received. Actually, I think he got fined nearly $100,000 because essentially, I think he barged or punched DiMercado not punched him in the face, but I think he like body checked him a little bit as he went back to start calling the plays. But yeah, you're right, Cam. Jonathan Gannon, who's the coach for the Cardinals, who I think is a complete asshat. He's been fined for his behavior to DeMarcado. But to be honest, I think that DeMarcado got off light and probably should have been headbutted, because that's not what you do as a professional player. I get that people can make mistakes. I get it. And he, at the end of the game, it was like, oh, one play doesn't define us all. Well, it does.
One game absolutely changed the whole
momentum. Oh, it absolutely defines it, because you go to 28 points at that point, and there is absolutely no chance in hell that the Titans are coming back. But instead, they remain at 21, kick the ball back to the Titans, and the Titans go on a, dare I say, scoring spree. But when you look at this, the Titans scored 22 points, but the only touchdown they had officially was Tony Pollard rushing a touchdown in. Aside from that, nothing else. Just a Tyler Lockett fumble recovery for a touchdown. When you look at everything else, and obviously Dave's not on this podcast, and as I did last time the Seahawks got a win, I defended my Seahawks to hell or high water, and I'm sure that Dave will and should do so. I didn't watch, the game in its full entirety, but I've watched the highlights, and I've tried to watch a bit of the game in 40 when I've had a moment. Unfortunately, there was just everything that I seemed to watch in relation to this game was Kyler Murray running round in tiny little ringlet circles, throwing the ball away for intentional grounding, throwing the ball to other players, throwing interceptions. It's just not good. And the Titans, unfortunately, equally didn't have much. There was a couple of amazing throws, as there has been every week, by Cam Ward in this game, but really, really not enough to say that this 22-21 win was anything more than a win. That's it. You take the W. You're now not an 0-5 team. You're a 1-4 team. I'm really happy about it, because it means the Cardinals drop down to 2-3, way more where they belong in that division, and long may it continue. But it just doesn't look like they're operating very well. And it equally, obviously, if not for some barbaric mistakes, awful play calling, awful play execution, and terrible misfortune, that play should have had the Looney Tunes music playing next to it, or like, because other than that, the Titans definitely don't win this game and kind of get embarrassed by a poor Cardinals team. But instead, it's the Cardinals who end up embarrassed. So, yeah, good slap, Cam. Very good slap. And it's also mine. Cool. We move on. Within the NFC, let's take things positive. Who are you signing from the NFC?
Plays for the Commanders.
Washington.
I'll tell you what, I've signed some Commanders this season, and
yeah, you have.
Yeah, I need to stop that. I'm signing Jacoby Croxley Merritt stepping up as a rookie again in another team that's been sort of plagued by injuries a little bit this season. I mean, there's so many injuries this season, but being productive, that is the best way as a rookie to be productive, show up on the score sheet, and he done it again this week.
He did.
I think he had 111 yards or something, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And for a game that I thought actually they were going to lose, fair play. Carry that ball, get the touches, relieve your quarterbacks some pressure, and fair play, because I don't personally hadn't seen much of him up until this point, and for him to put up those numbers turned the game on its head. Like they went down early, and I was like, okay, this is how this game's gonna go. And the Commanders just turned it around. They, for me, haven't looked good this season, but they keep finding a way to win, which just makes them very dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. they're 3-2 on the season. They've not had Jaden Daniels for 2 of their games at least, maybe 3. And he played in this game, obviously, 230 yards, passer rating of 100, threw a touchdown, no interceptions. You know, he took a few sacks, but that's exactly what you need from your starting quarterback to come in, win you a game, be safe with the ball, as you know, not like Mariota, who's their backup, and just get things done. But you are right, having somebody like Krosky Merritt to be able to hand that ball off to, or even dump it off to. He had 40 yards receiving off two receptions as well, so that's really productive, as you say, production. 2 receptions for sort of 20 yards a catch is amazing. And I think Krosky Merritt had a good game. On the flip side, as you said, the Chargers going up 10-0 in the first quarter. That was the first and last points they scored all game. They were shut out for 3 quarters thereafter, which is absolutely awful. Absolutely awful when you've got Justin Herbert.
They started so well this season. People are like, is this the year that sort of the Chargers and Herbert
they're the best
make that next step type thing? Ever since then, it's like, I don't say, can they live up to that expectation? They've certainly not. Like, every time we go, cool, that's a Chargers win. They're finding a way to not. Like, the whole Keenan Allen coming back, the first couple of games of the season, he looked prime Keenan Allen. Since then, nothing. And I get it. They've had more injuries on that offensive line.
Yeah, it's been really tough.
But
for them.
Again, what team hasn't got injuries this season?
Agreed.
Like, you have to find a way to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they're just not.
No, they're really not. And they've had some more bad news in the Chargers locker room, haven't they? Amarian Hampton goes on to injured reserve. They lost whatever his name is, the running back early on in the year from the Steelers. Najee Harris, and they've lost their Rashawn Slater, their right tackle, and now Joe Alt, who was right tackle playing left tackle, also injured. There's some key positions there that are injured, and Khalil Mack has also gone down. So they are banged up, but that doesn't, when you've got somebody like Justin Herbert, who is apparently, I mean, we say this, they had a couple of good games at the start of the season and everybody started going absolutely wild for them. They've come back down to earth with an absolute clatter. They're 3-2, just like the Washington Commanders, just like the Seattle Seahawks, just like the Rams, just like, they're amongst teams that are playing good and bad football.
What I would say about this, it feels so open. This season right now is so open.
The good teams aren't that good and the bad teams aren't that bad. I think there's just a real spread of talent across all these teams. Anyway, I will come in with my NFC sign, and I'm going all the way back, and it feels like it's all the way back. I'm going all the way back to Thursday Night Football, the San Francisco 49ers taking on the LA Rams, and the Niners did it. I didn't think they had a hope in heck, but the Niners did it, and the reason why they did it is because of big old Mackie Jones. So I'm signing Mac Jones from the San Francisco 49ers. They went into the Rams' house and won, beating Matthew Stafford's LA Rams. And what a game. It finished 26-23. It went into overtime. They won with a field goal. They were able to move the ball. Mac Jones had 340 passing yards on this Rams defense. He took a bunch of sacks, 9 sacks. Oh, no, sorry. He took 9 hits, but 1 sack. He had a passer rating of 100. He threw 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he was just that guy. He was like that game manager. He was making throws that needed to be made. He was threading the needle when he needed to, putting his body on the line. Not that he's that athletic, but putting his body on the line when he needed to, and just spreading that ball out. I mean, he was passing it to everyone. Kendrick Bourne, McCaffrey, Jake Tonjes, DeMarcus Robinson, Cal Juszczyk, Marquez Valdez all had multiple catches, multiple yards. That's pretty damn good. And for somebody who I guess would have been described as washed by most people in the NFL, going to the Niners as a backup, he has operated, I think, just as good or just as well as Brock Purdy has this year, he's actually won more games. So at this point, you've got Brock Purdy, your 50 million man, losing games, getting injured, can't take a hit. You got Mac Jones, your 50p man, 50 cents whilst we're in America. He's not 50 cent. He's white. But he's coming in and winning games and doing it with a little bit of swag. I think fair play to Mac Jones. Fair play. And fair play to the Niners, because I had written them off to beat the Rams. Didn't think they had a hope in hell.
No, it's a poor loss from the Rams. But back to the Niners for a sec. For me, what this shows is the Niners should never pay a quarterback while they've got this coaching team in place, because it doesn't matter who they put in. It really does not matter who they put in at quarterback.
No,
they all produce the same.
They do.
So Purdy. I mean, I've never been a fan of Purdy, but they're in bed with him now. Like they've paid him, and yeah, it must be frustrating to see. Hey, we've paid him, but actually, I could have put in the backup's brother to throw a football, and still, because the way they play, it doesn't matter. It's not like they've got a Stafford the way that he can play the game, or
no, I know what you're saying.
That, yeah,
they just need a quarterback. They just need a quarterback who is NFL caliber, but not necessarily, NFL special.
Yeah,
because Mac Jones, I mean, in this game, it wasn't, and that was the thing that impressed me the most. As much as you can kind of scheme in the Niners' house to dump the ball off to McCaffrey and gain yards, dump the ball off to your tight ends, play slant routes, hand the ball off and run. He was actually forced to throw the ball down the field, and he actually made some good throws. Like, he actually made some up and downers, some tight window throws, and I think he was just sort of saying, I don't give an F, and just slinging it. And I really like that. And he was getting like body bagged by some players, but he was popping up. He looked so injured, bless him. He looked haggard. He came off the pitch like if there was a way for him to have done the Peter Griffin, like he'd have been doing that for about 20 minutes, because he just carried on. And I gained a whole bunch of respect for Mac Jones after this one game, which is why I'm signing him. And I'm signing him because they beat the Rams as well. Because, again, I keep reiterating, but that is not an easy thing to do, especially when Niners have got 25 injured players. 25.
Utter joke, isn't it?
From a 50-something man roster. Some of them are their top-tier players. Legit. So, crazy. Cool. That's the NFC. We've quickly ran through that one. Let's go to the AFC, Camo, and let's again start positive this time. Who are you signing from the AFC?
All the way back to Monday Night Football. And I'm going to sign... I could have signed a couple of players from this one, but Trevor Lawrence, man.
You're signing old Trev?
Yeah, the long Goldilocks that is Trevor Lawrence. We were watching this again in the bar. To start the game, wasn't impressed with what I saw.
No.
They didn't look good. I think they went 14-0 down. And I thought, okay, this is written off. And then he just sort of went into a place which made the game so much more fun. And he just found a way to win again. And the defense of the Jags has shown up every week.
It really has
this season.
It's amazing, their defense.
It's what they're doing with the players. They're so good. And this game went from 14-0 to points just were going up again, and it's so close right at the end. the Jags ended up with a 99-yard pick six of Patrick Mahomes. You don't see them every day.
You really don't. It's his second interception on the year, but Devin Lloyd took it for a 99-yard touchdown from one end zone to the other. That's pretty special in itself. That's almost
amazing. Yeah, I was tempted. He's in my fantasy team this week. Didn't quite manage to get me the win, but it was close. But the way the Jags took the lead at the end, Trevor Lawrence, they were down with it on like the 5-yard line or 10-yard line or something. Snap the ball. Trevor Lawrence gets stood on, falls over, goes to get back up, falls over again, gets back up, manages to run through a couple of players and gets into the end zone. Bonkers. I think this put them up 4 points with like 40 seconds to go or something.
Yeah, it finished 31-28. That's where it finished.
Insane ending. I from the first half of the game had no idea it was going to end anywhere like that. The Jags, I didn't think we were going to be able to put up points. And what are they now? They've lost one game this season.
The Jaguars are 4-1.
Yeah, crazy.
One of the best teams in football according to their record.
And what again? The question marks this brings up for the Chiefs.
Yeah, you've got to
powerhouse of a team as just not. I'm almost going to sit here and say, there's not too much you got to worry about when you play the Chiefs. Like,
I think
you are asking a lot of Patrick Mahomes on offense with the players and supporting cast around.
When have they not been though? Like, let's be honest. Like, there comes a point where you probably go, look, and Mahomes is a human being. And when have they not been? When have they not been asking so much of Mahomes? And he gets all the shit. He gets all the stick. He gets the stick off Dave. He gets the stick off you. He gets the stick off everyone because he's been a winning quarterback. But that's all they ask of Patrick Mahomes. They ask him to go and win games. They ask him to put it on his back. And of course, that's what a quarterback does. Look at Baker Mayfield, and you rise to that challenge. But at the same time, I personally think it's been going on for far too long for the Chiefs in just it being like him. For me, when I'm watching the Chiefs now, the receivers are obviously slightly healthier. The offensive line's still an issue, and the defense sucks. The defense sucks for the Chiefs at the moment. It has got nothing in it. The fact that Trevor Lawrence got in on that play where he'd fell over twice. Some players gave up on that, and even Chris Jones. Like, I love Chris Jones, but he just started walking when Trevor Lawrence is barreling into the end zone. You've got to run through the guy. It's the last play of the game in your head. Everybody must be all eyes to that ball, and it just didn't feel like it. I think Spags needs to sort that team out, and they've lost a lot. Losing Justin Reed is humongous for them. I think that's one of the biggest losses that they could have had when he went to the Saints. I'm surprised they let him go because it seemed like they loved him. And yeah, I think there's a few other pieces that they've lost, and losing Joe Tooney on the offensive line is a total mistake. But nevertheless, not taking away from him. Cam, you're signing Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the Seahawks are playing him this week, so I'm going to be careful what I say, but they are a very spawny 4-1 team, in my opinion.
I'm not saying they're amazing.
Played the football that I would expect a 4-1 team to have played. Nevertheless, if you can win, you can beat the Chiefs, and you can beat a couple of the other teams that they've already played, fair enough. You've done something right. And I think it's their defense, actually, that's really come into play. So fair play, Jags. Good, cool. Trevor Lawrence gets the sign. From me, my sign is going to be CJ Stroud from the Houston Texans. So I'm signing as a redemption week, a week that he actually played very solid and good football. Equally, this was against the incredibly banged up Ravens. but I'm still going to do it because it's hard to win games in the NFL no matter what. It's hard to win games when your offensive line is ass, which theirs is. And Stroud kind of put on a clinic in this game. 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, 143.9 passer rating. He spread the ball out. He found multiple receivers. He just looked good. He looked calm. He looked like he had some swag. That's kind of all I'm going to say. They beat the Ravens 44-10, which is crazy, but the Ravens are just terrible at the moment, and it's because of a bunch of injuries. Obviously, they don't have Lamar, which is a game changer in itself, but they've still got Derrick Henry. I mean, he had a late touchdown in this game, but he was running for 2 yards a carry, which is awful. They couldn't spread the ball out, and their defense just sucks. It just sucks. They've got nothing. They're so injured, and even the players that they have got, I mean, there's still got some good names on that team that were playing. Carl Van Noy, Malachi Starks, Jair Alexander. You know, they're good players, I guess, but their best players are definitely not playing. So 44-10 to the Houston Texans. I think it was more about this was a get-right game, and you've got to get right in your get-right games, and that's what they did. If you're playing a team that's banged up, that's conceded a whole bunch of points, you've got to be able to show that you can put some points up, and putting 44 up does show that. So well done, CJ Stroud. Let's see if you can continue to do that on into the season, and maybe this helped him get right.
Can we just take a minute to look at that division and where the teams are? It is mad what that division is doing right now. Because I didn't think there was going to be any winning teams in that. Besides, I thought the Texans were going to do something. The top 2 teams right now were
Colts, Jags.
Yeah.
4-1, 4-1.
Football never fails to surprise me. It's great.
No. But then it's amazing that you see the Colts and the Jags at the top of that table, but then you also flip it and you look at the AFC North and go, holy hell, the Browns have got 1 win, the Ravens have got 1 win, the Bengals have only got 2 wins, and those are all teams, not the Browns necessarily, but those are teams that you would expect to be charging towards the top of any playoff contention. And actually, The Steelers are sat up there 3-1, so they've obviously had the bye week, but they're sitting pretty on the top. And I can't see, until Lamar comes back, obviously, I can't see any of these teams winning any more games anytime soon. Can't see the Browns or the Baltimore Ravens or the Cincinnati Bengals winning any more games anytime soon. They're going to continue to get worse.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Let's slap some more, Cam.
AFC slap is going to the Miami Dolphins run game.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in a game against
they ran for 19 yards.
They ran for 19 yards, yeah. It's abysmal.
That's terrible.
In a game against the Carolina Panthers, who every listener of this podcast will know are not a good team. They started the game really well. Well, Miami started the game really well. They had a 17-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up losing the game 27-24. So
crazy.
Early in the game, up 17-0. To add 2 touchdowns, looking all good. And the problem was they just couldn't get a run game going. So you were relying on Tua to throw that ball on every snap. And when a team figures out that you aren't going to be running that ball, they just gear up to rush that quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you couldn't run the ball resulted in them not being able to play the clock very well. They couldn't just keep the game ticking over.
Yeah.
And to give up a 17-point lead to a Panthers team, you've got to do better.
You do.
And as a run combination, A-Chain, I'm sorry, he ran for like 1 yard a carry.
Mm-hmm.
He was meant to be something really exciting. What good is speed if you're running really quickly for 1 yard?
Yeah, that's so true. That's so
Like,
true. Yeah, he had a catch and a touchdown in this one, but as you say, the actual fundamentals of a running back and doing what you need to do to keep a game going and ice the game and run the clock, I actually can't believe that as a collective, as a whole unit, they only had 19 yards. That is preposterous. Because on the flip side, Rico Dowdle, of all players, had 206 yards carrying a touchdown and on 23 carries. That's nuts. Over 200 yards a carry is a monumental achievement, especially on the Panthers team. But that just says everything about the Dolphins. I'm quite surprised now with them being 1-4. Surely Mike McDonald he's on the hot seat to be gone. Surely one more loss, because that Dolphins team, okay, you've lost Tyreek Hill, but aside from that, your team is fairly healthy. You know, you've got players everywhere. You've got Jalen Waddle, who's a number one receiver. You've got Devon Achane, who is a number one running back. You've got now Darren Waller, who's turned into, again, as tight ends are back, Darren Waller is back. And he's had 3 touchdowns in 2 games since he's started playing. And your defense is okay. You know, Jordan Brooks, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Zach Sealer, Terrell Dodson. Like, these are all good players. Matthew Judon. You know, these are decent players. You can't be losing games, especially games that you've got a 17-point lead in, just because you can't run the ball. I think it's terrible. I think it's actually awful. So 24 to the Dolphins, 27 to the Panthers.
Tua actually had one of his better games.
He did. He didn't do anything wrong.
256 yards, 3 touchdowns.
No, he took a few sacks, but that's about it.
You're going to when you can't hand the ball off.
Yeah, of course. Mad. Okay, nice. Good sign. Sorry, good slap. And I will finish. By slapping a man who got signed last week. You signed him last week. I'm slapping him this week, and it hurts me to slap him. But you know what? I have had an awful, for listeners out there who are in my fantasy league, hell's teeth have I had a bad time. I've lost 3 on the bounce, scored more points than most people, and still lost. And this week, just to give me a puncher's chance, I needed Josh Allen from the Bills to go off. And I thought, against the Patriots, maybe. That's a possibility. Did he? No, he did not. And Josh Allen has gone from MVP candidate to still MVP candidate, but most valuable plonker in my eyes, because this game was atrocious. It was a game that was atrocious from all of the Bills' perspective, especially defense in my eyes. But Josh Allen's the man. He's the quarterback. He's the man that you have to look to put the team on your back when things aren't quite going right. Instead, he had a missed snap handoff fumble to Dawson Knox, and he threw an interception, and there was another turnover. So he only had one.
Two interceptions.
No, he only had one pick. There was 2 fumbles.
Fair.
There was 2 fumbles, one from Keon Coleman, one from Josh Allen, essentially, which has been put down as a Dawson Knox, Josh Allen fumble. But no, he threw 1 pick and lost a fumble, and Keon Coleman lost a fumble. So they were the 3 turnovers. But the difference between that and New England was New England didn't turn the ball over. So they made use of their opportunities. They won 23-20, but it was just an uninspiring performance from Josh Allen. And I guess when you say that, it's harsh because he still had 2 touchdowns, a passer rating of 103, 250 yards, 50 on the ground. It's not a bad outing, but when you actually look at how it went down,
when you watch the game, though,
it didn't.
They looked off, for them to lose at home.
First game they've lost at home in 13 home games that this is, which is nearly a full season's worth of being at home and not losing. Yeah, you're right, Cam. To lose at home, and you can give all the credit in the world to Drake May and to Stephon Diggs, and maybe some people should. 270 yards for Drake May.
Diggs, a bit of a revenge game, wasn't it, for him coming back to Buffalo?
Of course. Yeah. He had 146 yards. But again, Drake May did not throw a touchdown in this one. not a single touchdown thrown. It was Ramondre Stevenson with 2 touchdowns that were required. It's just, again, a poor outing from a team that should be doing better in the Bills, and I guess an overachievement from the Patriots. I'm not buying what everyone's selling at the moment by going, oh, the Pats are, Pats have to be respected in this league. They are the new thing. Let's wait on that. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying hold your damn horses before you start losing your mind about Drake May rolling to the right and somehow throwing a prayer ball. That's what Josh Allen does every week. If Drake May can do it every week, let's see if he can. I don't believe he can. I think that was some real poor defending by a Bills team that I reckon they underestimated the Patriots, went in, thought they had an easy win, wearing their all nice ice white jerseys and got seen off. But Josh Allen, MVP, you need to do better. You cannot lose to the Patriots and expect to make a Super Bowl, win an MVP, win the AFC, sort it out. And that's it. That's our slap and sign. Done, in the bag, all finished up. So Cam, we'll now just cover some of the games that we've not spoken about really quickly. I guess the first one that we cover, which is most important to us, and I'd say a large proportion of our listeners, was the UK game that was played in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last week. We weren't able to see this one because we were actually on the plane to America, but we were getting updates from our fantasy football group, and it was hilarious, all popping off. But the Vikings managed to beat the Cleveland Browns, although it was a tight one until close to the end of the game. 21 to the Vikings, 17 to the Browns. Looks like the Browns made a game of it. Looks like the new starter in Dylan Gabriel also made a game of it. 2 touchdowns, 190 yards on that Vikings defense. Carson Wentz had 230 and a touch. But yeah, I think the sort of takeaways from this game are Quinshon Judkins, the halfback, running back for the Cleveland Browns, is legit and very good with 100 yards. Justin Jefferson kind of found a bit of form and came back into the fold, and obviously Jordan Addison now back in the team of the Vikings after his suspension being lifted after a couple of weeks ago. But basically, it was a bit of a back and forth. A few mistakes from the Browns end up with the Vikings essentially coming out on top. It's the result that most people would have expected, I guess, and at least quite an entertaining one for the fans in the UK. We've still got a few more UK games to come, but yeah, it's nice to see this football being played. And as much as we maybe can't handle the 15 hours that it brings to the table, Camo, certainly not when you're blasted with jet lag like me and you are right now, it's still pretty cool to have those UK games. It sounds like the fans really get amongst it, and it's sparking a lot more talk about the NFL in the UK.
Yeah, no, it's cool. And as I say, we've been the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium specifically designed for NFL in mind. It's a great setup. It must be cool for the players.
Definitely.
I say.
Definitely.
Yeah. But my brother took my nephew to this game.
Yeah, we saw pictures of liking kits.
Loving it. So, a cool way to get people excited.
Definitely. Nice. Moving on to the Colts versus the Raiders. This was a total blowout. Colts are legitimate this year. I don't really like all the hype that I'm seeing on the internet at the moment and on Instagram. There are some really cringy fans out there for the Colts at the moment saying, you better believe you should put some respect on our name and all this crap.
I respect Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, me too. But no, they're doing great things. Their defense is doing great things. Their offense is doing great things. And Indiana Jones, Danny Dimes, is legit at the moment. It's they're playing a bum Raiders team. The Raiders team put 6 points on them. The Colts put 40 on them. Colts go to 4-1. Raiders fall to 1-4. It's really not that hard. Geno Smith is playing the worst football of his career. Daniel Jones is playing the best football of his career. Tyler Warren, as we're giving the love to the tight ends this week, is a legitimate tight end, and the Raiders were without Brock Bowers doing anything particularly inspiring. So, yeah, the Colts win. They will come back down to earth a little bit before the end of the season. That is my prediction, but they are still a very good team, and they deserve to be where they are right now. So well done to the Colties. Next, the Giants at MetLife playing the Saints. We are going there tomorrow night, Camo, so very excited. But this one was a game that shouldn't have been, but it was a beatdown by the Saints. 26 to the Giants 14. There was a lot of mistakes made. Jackson Dart had some turnovers. He definitely shouldn't have thrown a few balls that ended up in interceptions. He had 2 picks on the day, 2 touchdowns on the day. I think it started quite well for them, and then just really they were shut out in the second half, essentially.
Yeah, Scatbo also fumbled.
Yeah, big fumble for a touchdown.
Yeah. He also absolutely pancaked the defensive end, which is quite jokes.
Yeah, I still like him. He's one of those players where you just think, wow, this guy's got a motor. But the Saints ultimately were just a little bit too much for the Giants, which isn't saying a lot considering it was the first win of the Saints season. So yeah, Raheed Shaheed is that man that can take the top off a defense every 4 games, and it just so happened to be that game that he took the top off the Giants. So well done to him too. But we are, excited to see the Giants take on the Eagles. We'll talk about them in a little bit. The Cowboys put a hurting on the Jets, and this is, worst team in football at the moment now. Statistically, the Jets are 0-5. They look piss poor. The Cowboys, on the flip side, actually look very good.
George Pickens has done fantastic for him.
He was a great pickup in the trade window, and even better that CeeDee Lamb's been out for a while, so he's been able to really take the reins. Again, tight end Jake Ferguson, 2 touchdowns, amazing. Javonte Williams has come to play in AT&T Stadium with 130 yards on the ground. The Jets just suck. They only scored 6 points up until the fourth quarter, where the Cowboys really took the foot off the gas because they were winning by 30 points and still won 37-22. Fields looks like he's had great games on paper, but when you actually study it, he's not. He's had good fourth quarters when his team's been blown out, and then he's trying to sling the ball to come back. Otherwise, not good. Broncos won 21-17 against the reigning Super Bowl champions Eagles. We were in a bar where there was a whole host of Eagles fans. I guess Philly's not too far from New York. They were going wild, but it was quite nice to see the Broncos get the win against the Eagles. And as much as there's speculation out there, teams have to lose one. I think unless you're going to go unbeaten, Broncos was a nasty matchup for the Eagles. They can shut down the run game. And 21-17. I like to see the Eagles get humbled a little bit. That's good to see.
Yeah, that's it. There's no more teams that are unbeaten, is there? Everyone's now lost.
Everyone has now lost a game, which is nice. Nice to makes you feel better about your team, I guess. You think, if they can lose one, we can. And I think the last game that we've not covered is the Lions-Bengals, and this is one which was actually closer than, I say closer, it was not close, but it was definitely not as big as a blowout as I thought it was going to be. I thought they were going to put a 50 burger on the Bengals, but they didn't. But the Lions still did what they needed to do. Jared Goff had 3 touchdowns, 260 yards. This was a game for Montgomery, returning home to, he's from Ohio, near obviously where the Bengals are. He threw a touchdown. He ran one in. He had a good game as a running back, and I think they deliberately tried to make sure that he had a good game. I think his sister, who's been in a bad car accident recently, was watching him in the stands. It was the first time she's been able to see him since the accident. So, I mean, if that's not a reason to play hard, what is, right? Yeah. I think that was a beat down by the Lions, but the Bengals tried to make something of it, and ultimately, whilst trying, put up some massive fantasy points for Jamar Chase in the process and a few other players as well.
It was a lot of late points again. Though.
Yeah, just garbage.
Early on, Jake Browning looked so poor. I mean, at one point, Jamar Chase was their second leading tackler on the team because there's that many interceptions. He had 3 tackles.
Yeah. And hence the reason why they've traded for Joe Flacco. So that's all the games. We've covered everything, Camo. Nice, quick and snappy. The only thing that we've got to talk to now is the fact that myself and yourself are heading to MetLife Stadium tomorrow night. We're going to be there for Thursday night football. It is the New York Football Giants taking on the Super Bowl reigning champions, Philadelphia Eagles. The weather's looking good. It's supposed to be a clear night, under the lights, Amazon Prime football. We've been to MetLife now, don't know how many times, but it's an amazing stadium as long as you can get there easily and get home easily. Once you're in, it is fantastic. There is a hell of an atmosphere. It's an amazing viewpoint from every seat in the stadium, and it's a little bit different when it's at night and the lights are on.
Yeah, going to be an occasion. It's cool. Saquon back in New York again. Like you say, it being a primetime game, they're just a little bit different. And
it's divisional.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a close one. I don't know what the Giants are going to be able to do. Can they bounce back after that defeat against the Saints and the way they looked? It wasn't very pretty at times. If the Eagles go up early, this could be very ugly.
Yeah, I think it's got the potential for the Giants to get totally steamrolled. But at the same time, the scatterbow, the Jackson Dart, the shiftiness, the grittiness, the ability to sort of tuck and run, I think might make them just a little bit tricky to play. And I hope it does, because I want to see, I'd ideally like to see the Giants win. But
yeah, so the thing I'm actually really intrigued by is to watch the game live and to just watch the Eagles passing game, non-passing game. So just see what's going on there, because it's widely reported, obviously, AJ Brown is not happy. Turns out apparently nor Devontae Smith. AJ Brown, Barkley and Jalen Hurts have apparently had a 2-hour-long meeting to try and clear the air on some things. Okay. So yeah, just a bit intrigued to see that whole dynamic, see what the passing game's like. Do they try and actually feed him a bit more, get him involved? Or do they go, this is Saquon back in New York, let's feed him? I'm hoping, I've put AJ back into my starting lineup this week. Okay. He's not done anything for me really this season, so I'm hoping this might be the week.
Maybe the 2-hour meeting gets him something. But I think it will be a heavy load for Saquon, because he's not had the best of. He's had a good season. He's not had the best of seasons, so he'll probably want to come back home and run all over the Giants. But he's been there and done that now, so maybe it's less of a novelty and more just about getting the game seen off and chalked away. I think the Eagles. It'd be very surprising if the Eagles don't run away with this. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to talk to and listen to some of the fans in and around us.
Yep.
To sort of see how they react to things. So
good stuff.
I'm excited for it, yeah. But I mean, a game live, let's say the weather's perfect for it, and being a primetime one, they are a bit different.
Absolutely. So listeners, keep an eye on our socials. We will be posting little clips and videos from the game, maybe a cheeky little quick roundup after the game is finished. But we will be back normal time next week. This one is a late one, so apologies, but we'll be back normal time next week, hopefully with Big Dave in tow. This week, that is your Week 5 roundup, and as much as it's taken a little bit longer to get it out, it's been fun to talk about. This one is tight ends are back. They were running the show this week. Make sure you follow at In the End Zone UK on your socials. Send in your own slap and signs. And until next time, from the US of A, myself and Cam will see you in Week 6. Peace out. Thank you for listening.
Laters.
Catch me balling like I'm in the end zone. I got my homies in the no new friend zone. You know, making plays that land us in the end zone. Coming in clutch, you can catch me in the end zone. End zone.